March 3rd, 2021. Let's talk propaganda. Marketing. Public relations. It's all the same thing. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. But to get that money and control, it's all about the messaging. And the messaging is all that matters. Okay? So, this is what you're going to hear and what's going to be focused on in the media to get your behaviors to be what they desire, which is to get vaccinated, to wear the mask, to comply. Compliance is key, and compliance comes from the messaging. Now, I've played this clip before, but it's the media that controls the message, and it's the message that controls you and me. And they'll tell you to your face, it's the message that matters. So let's hear this one more time.
Edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control. He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Yeah.
That is their job, right? If anybody undermines the message enough, you can control what people think. Or even better, you could inspire somebody to think for themselves. But that is their job. The messaging, it's their job to implant, to program the message into your brain, okay, to control your behaviors. It's all about the messaging. It has nothing to do with facts. Facts don't matter with propaganda. The messaging matters, okay? And they will dance around facts all day long. In fact, they will just straight up ask you, what do you need to hear from us to get you to comply? And we give them that information. It's the power of the survey. Okay, I've seen so many posts where people are like, oh my gosh, look at this survey I just took. This popped up and it said, what will it take to get you to take the COVID vaccine? Is it self-protection? Is it the protection of others? Is it blah, blah, blah? And they went ahead and did this with a study, right? A clinical trial. So let's jump back to this one. This was way back in July, right? This was a study being performed. I don't remember if it was Yale or Harvard. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. Actually, I think I might have had it listed in one of my posts from back then on this clinical trial. Either way, let's just go to the website and look at the details of this clinical trial. Oh, Yale University. Okay. Of course it is, right? Okay, this study tests different messages about vaccinating against COVID-19 once the vaccine becomes available. And here we are. Participants are randomized to one of 12 arms, with one control arm and one baseline arm. We have compared the reported willingness to get the COVID-19 vaccine at 3 and 6 months of it becoming available between 10 interventional arms to the 2 control arms. So let's look at what these arms are. What are the messaging that they're going to be focusing on? Let's scroll down and actually read through them. So the control arm is just a sham message, right, about bird feeding, where they're going to be discussing a passage on the costs and benefits of bird feeding. Whatever. Then there's the baseline message. So this message is about the benefits of vaccination, all other treatment arms, including the baseline language. So group 315 of the sample will be assigned the control group with a message about the overall effectiveness and safety of vaccines, which that right there is a garbage control group because that's all based on lies. There is zero real-world safety data against an inert placebo to actually prove vaccine safety. Everything that you've been taught about vaccines is misinformation, it's lies, and it's not based in truth or reality. So, That aside, the next message group, personal freedom. Okay. Group number 1 of 15 of the sample will be assigned to this intervention, which is a message about how COVID-19 is limiting people's personal freedom, and by working together to get enough people vaccinated, society can preserve its personal freedom. First of all, the virus isn't doing anything when it comes to restricting your personal freedom. Your government is, okay? Government and the regulatory agencies are the ones restricting your personal freedom. This is just a virus with a 99.97 survival rate, 99.97% survival rate. Okay? It's not the virus that's attacking your personal freedom, it's the government. So getting this vaccine is just complying with a mandate that makes no sense biologically. Okay? Now, economic freedom. Will this message work on you? A message about how COVID-19 is limiting people's economic freedom. And by working together to get enough people vaccinated, society can preserve its economic freedom. Again, not the virus's fault, government regulations. Self-interest and social benefit. All right, the message about getting the COVID-19 vaccine. COVID-19 presents a real danger to your health, and even if one is young and healthy, which is not true. Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the best way to prevent oneself from getting sick, which is not true. The best way to do it is to live a healthy lifestyle, and you will not be threatened by this virus. You can get sick, but you're not going to die. And if you do, there is some kind of underlying issue there, toxicity, some kind of, you're not healthy, so you need to live a healthy life. Okay, the next one, community interest, right? It's not about you, it's about everybody else. COVID-19, the dangers of COVID-19 to the health of loved ones. The more people who get vaccinated about COVID-19, the lower the risk that one's loved ones will get sick. Society must work together and all get vaccinated. Okay, so as you can see, we're going down this messaging. They're asking you, what propaganda do we need to push at you to get you to do what we want? And we tell them, okay, economic benefit, social pressure, and guilt. This one is the one you're probably going to see the most. This message is about the danger that COVID-19 presents to the health of one's family and community. And the best way to protect them is by getting vaccinated, and society must work together to get enough people vaccinated. Then it asks the participant to imagine the guilt that they would feel if they didn't get vaccinated and ended up spreading the disease. Come on. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Okay, we're literally breathing in hundreds of thousands of viruses every minute of every day, whether you're wearing that mask or not. You're going to be exposed to this virus. You're going to be infected. Other people are going to be infected. Infection is going to happen. You can't run the world trying to avoid infection for every possible virus, bacteria, anything else out there that could be a potential pathogen. That's not how the world works. That's not how biology works. So that's stupid. Social pressure and guilt. Oh, here's another good one. Social pressure, embarrassment. How embarrassing would it be? Now, the danger that COVID-19 presents to the health of one's family and community. The best way to protect them is by getting vaccinated, again a lie, and by working together to make sure that enough people get vaccinated. Then it asks the participant to imagine the embarrassment you would feel if you don't get vaccinated and you spread the disease. Wow, how embarrassing. So dumb. How about social pressure with anger? Same type of scenario. This is a threat to your family and community, and the best way to protect them is getting vaccinated. Imagine the anger that they will feel if they don't get vaccinated and spread the disease. So we've got anger, embarrassment, guilt. Trust in science. Trust in science. If one doesn't get vaccinated, that means that one doesn't understand how infections are spread and someone who ignores science. Actually, it's the people who do understand infection. In fact, the benefits of infection or exposure, infection, these adaptants, these adaptive mechanisms that we're being exposed to help us build and improve our lives. You're a science denier. And how about the bravery arm? Ooh, be a hero. Be a hero, guys. This one describes how firefighters and doctors and the frontline medical workers are brave. And those who choose not to get vaccinated against COVID-19, you're not brave. You're a coward. Okay, so you got it? These are the messaging arms that they focused on in this study. And you can see how all of these, they don't post the results. They haven't posted the results. They did these surveys. They didn't post the results, but they got information from this. And you can tell because the messaging that we're seeing today is unreal. So let's take a look at some of it. If we go to Google News and you search vaccine hesitancy, it's like one of the biggest topics. There's articles every few hours coming out about it. Vaccine hesitancy is slowing down the race to defang the virus. I mean, the neurolinguistic programming in these articles is so dumb. People buy into it all day long. And then there's all these social pressures, right? How employers can reduce vaccine hesitancy by basically threatening your job if you don't do it. How about stupid articles giving an example? Oh, I was vaccine hesitant once, but I got over that, and here's how. Right? So dumb. Anyway, we can go. You could go into Google News or any other news outlet. Type in some of these things, vaccine hesitancy, or more importantly, vaccine messaging, because that's what we got to do. Is the message has to be right. In fact, today, just this morning, an article came out about, I'm so upset because people aren't taking the vaccine because the messaging is all wrong. We need to come together and have a better message that we're going to save society. And they even talk about the guilt and things that they want to see. So you can look at some of these examples of vaccine messaging. Pay attention to the fact that none of this comes down to vaccine facts. Okay? This is an emergency use authorization experimental vaccine, and I will always hit on the point that they are all experimental. There is no safety, there's no true safety science on any vaccines, none of them. But this is the worst because these are brand new. They're killing people left and right. They've only been out for a couple months, and there's over 1,000 deaths. There's 1,100 plus deaths that have been reported so far in such a short amount of time. Correlation does not equal causation. There's a reason it's a self-reporting process because they don't want it to be tied back to any type of science, and they don't do the science or the safety studies against an inert placebo because then it would show and prove that it's killing people. So they pull out. You know, they only allowed in the early stages of the vaccine testing, there was actually a placebo group in the Pfizer and Moderna's, where they were going against an inert placebo. But then as soon as the vaccine got emergency use authorization, they said, now that it's out, we need to give the placebo group the vaccine because it would be unethical to deny them of this wonderful thing that's killing and maiming people, causing permanent injury and all kinds of problems. So all you're going to hear is the benefits of the vaccine, the benefits of this vaccine, the benefits of that vaccine. The CDC looked over all of this information and found that it's perfectly safe. Really? Because that's not what real world is reporting. So what is some of the messaging that they want to use to control you? Well, seeing others vaccinated may be the best cure for vaccine hesitancy. And not only others, it has to be famous people, right? So what do we got? Let me just click through some of this stuff. I have so many tabs open. Well, we'll get to them. I'm just going to go through this. So here's one. They're going to talk about how, there's so much distrust in the government. Black Americans are reporting high levels of vaccine hesitancy. And, it's kind of understandable because, well, they've been targeted with horrible experiments in the past, like the Tuskegee experiment and this, that, and the other. So, we're really going to have to work on positive messaging to talk them into doing this. Vaccine hesitancy is putting progress against COVID-19 at risk. Now, this type of messaging is getting the sheep or the people, the believers that just listen to the experts, to turn against anybody that thinks independently and decides to go against the common narrative and say, no thanks, I'll take a risk for myself. Oh, you're so selfish. I'm not afraid of it either, but what about grandma and grandpa? You're putting their life at risk, and if they die, you're a murderer. Okay, that's the kind of bull crap that they're trying to get to pressure you, the guilt pressure, the embarrassment pressure, the greater good garbage. It's all garbage. Okay, so here's one of those, how I overcame my vaccine hesitancy. And you know what? This is probably just all total lies. Somebody just making it up so that they can write an article to get somebody that's on the fence and go, oh yeah, I can relate to everything she's talking about. I'll go ahead and get it too. So what do they talk about? If you'd have pulled me last fall, well, I would have registered as a COVID vaccine skeptic. I told anyone who asked that I was going to wait at least 6 months after a vaccine was approved. But, now that I'm seeing how wonderful it is, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Like this. Well, that hesitancy quickly dissipated after listening to reports from directors of the FDA, the CDC, and several experts that I know and trust, all of whom gave an enthusiastic thumbs up for both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. Listen to what she's saying. I quickly gave up my own independent thinking because the experts said it was good to go. Like the FDA and the CDC, who are profiting greatly on the administration and rollout of this vaccine campaign. All right. Well, what about safety science? Well, there is none. There's none. But we just need to go for it. They said, don't worry, it's safe. Trust us. Okay. So it's all about the messaging, okay? Messaging. Let's look. So here's an article that just came out. It's a big one. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Don't worry. The surprising key to combating vaccine refusal. Oh, key to understand. It's not just one problem. We're going to need a portfolio of approaches to solve this issue. And it's a big issue. And here's how they start out the article. To make you think you're an idiot if you would even question not getting it. Why wouldn't someone want a COVID-19 vaccine? Great question. Staring at the raw numbers, it doesn't seem like a hard choice. Thousands of people are dying of COVID-19 every day. Meanwhile, out of the 75,000 people who received a shot in the vaccine trials of Pfizer and Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson, and Novavax, 0 died, and none were hospitalized after 4 weeks. That's actually not true. So anyway, they go in and talk about, you'd be ridiculous not to take this vaccine. And then they give some, vaccine hesitancy, it's not really just one thing. It's a constellation of motivations and insecurities and reasonable fears and less reasonable conspiracy theories. So then they get some different takes from different people. I don't call it vaccine hesitancy. I call it vaccine dissent. It's way more complicated than being anti-vaccine. It goes from highly educated parents who are interested in holistic and naturalistic child rearing all the way to conspiracy theorists who want to abolish vaccines entirely. And that's actually very rare. Most people are like, you want your vaccine? Go get it. If it works, it should protect you. We don't want it. That's how most people are doing it. And don't try to give me that herd immunity bullcrap, because that's a lie. Here's another one. I call it vaccine deliberation. Black and brown people, for black and brown people, this is a time of watchful waiting. It's a skepticism of a system that has consistently demonstrated that their health is not a priority, which is true. But it's not just black and brown people. They don't give a shit about any of us. But they have targeted black and brown people for the seedy experiments and the infertility injections and the syphilis injections and the lies and the bullshit. Yes, they definitely target the black and brown people. So guess what? They're fully justified to not want to take these vaccines because they're garbage. It's not just vaccine hesitancy amongst American Indians, but rather a hesitancy and a distrust regarding the entire government, as it should be. After decades of distrust on top of centuries of genocide, now they appear and say, here, you have to take this. Of course they're not going to want to. Nobody wants to. Well, most people don't want to. And let's not forget vaccine indifference. 2/3 of Republicans under 30 without a college degree say that they're not concerned at all about COVID-19 in their area. So they're just misinformed. So whether you call it dissent or deliberation or distrust or indifference, vaccine hesitancy is not just one thing. It's a portfolio, and we're going to need a portfolio of strategies to solve it. Good thing we have a lot of messaging information to draw on in our messaging directed at you. You told us exactly what you need to hear to get you to comply. Good for us. We need to be more careful about the surveys that we take. And that's very powerful information. There are massive multi-billion-dollar corporations that were built on surveys and propaganda and marketing. Okay, that's the key of control. Quote, you shouldn't say that people are idiots for believing false or misleading information because they're not idiots. That's part of what makes this such a hard problem to solve. And as you know, the whole vaccine misinformation, all of it's based in science and facts, and they can't just call everything misinformation because there is no safety data. The World Health Organization admitted this in the Vaccine Safety Summit back in 2019. I've shared the video. There's wonderful videos you can find online specific to that. There's all kinds of safety concerns with vaccines in general, and especially this one because it's brand new and there is zero safety data. So let's just go to the end of this. Okay. It's not just fake information that might strengthen the vaccine hesitancy. True information that is stripped out of context could do the same thing. Their context, not the context of reality or the world, right? Here's a doctor's quote. A lot of my patients tell me they're worried the vaccine will make them sick, which has been a very common reaction. They hear stories about people who took the vaccine and didn't feel well. Others tell me that the vaccines are unnatural and they don't want to put such chemicals in their body, and they shouldn't have to. Then others tell me they're worried about big companies trying to do something nefarious. I just heard this today. There's some bigger plan that is underlining this. They ask about Bill Gates and microchips, and they try to just push the conspiracy part of this as far as they can to make it sound crazy to question. You should question. Question everything. It's tempting to treat these more outlandish conspiracy theories with straightforward contempt. All right, blah, blah, blah. Again, they're going to touch back to how black Americans are holding on to the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and we need to move past this. In this current day, that could never go on, which is such a lie. They've done so many horrible experiments, not just in Africa, but here in America, all over South America. This still goes on to this day, and the entire world population is the experiment for this stupid vaccine. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Again, they continue on with race indifference here. Vaccine hesitancy is as old as vaccine themselves. Talks about the anti-vaccination leagues in the 1700s in Leicester, where hundreds of thousands of people protested against the smallpox vaccine because their kids were dying after receiving it. And in fact, Leicester beat smallpox without the vaccine just by utilizing quarantine for the sick. Not everybody, for the sick. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Now, Here's where a lot of that messaging comes into play. Here they say. Motivational interviewing. It works like this. Instead of telling people why you think they should change, you ask them open-ended questions to help them discover their own reasons. I want to be healthy matches your goal. I want you to take this vaccine. And you can guide them toward a plan. But that would only work if vaccines actually equaled health, and they don't. We're the most vaccinated population in the world, and we're also the sickest. So let's take it there. Sometimes I flip the question and ask, what would make you want to get the vaccine? What would convince you to get the vaccine? That way you urge them to start identifying the positive things in their mind. Maybe they'll say, well, I want to help my friend who isn't well. You recognizing some of this messaging that was in that clinical trial? Right? They're going to continue seeding this. I want to help my friend who isn't well. Or I want to protect my family. And I want to latch onto that and try to build on that. These methods don't exactly proceed at warp speed. It can take time for people to change their mind, if they do so at all. But the approach seems to work better than any other to soften vaccine deliberation. A 2021 study from the University of Pennsylvania found that Black Americans who express reluctance toward the COVID-19 vaccine were willing to consider receiving it when a trusted healthcare provider reflected their concern and emphasized the safety of the shot. How can you emphasize the safety of a shot that has no safety studies and has only been out for a couple months and has had over 1,000 deaths associated with it? Come on. When we disentangle the constituent parts of vaccine hesitancy, conspiracy theorizing, wait-and-see deliberation, frustration, and distrust, it becomes clear that vaccine reluctance will never be solved by one big thing. Better national messaging on how vaccines could change our lives might encourage young people to get the shot, but will do little to change the iniquities at the community level. Clearer eligibility rules and more equitable distribution could accelerate vaccination in low-income neighborhoods, but might not solve vaccine indifference among young white Republicans. Again, they're doing this whole like black versus white, rich versus poor, anything to divide us and get us to go, oh, well, if they don't want it, I want it. And if they're trying to get it from me, I want it. And they create the supply demand and all this manipulation in your mind. It's all a game. It's all a game to get you guys to want something that you don't want. So it's so dumb. Motivational interviewing might bring along the skeptical, but more information is unlikely to convert a full-blown conspiracist. That's right. If you really focus on living a healthy lifestyle and you know for a fact that you don't need this vaccine, you're a conspiracy theorist. No way around it. The multiple choice question of combating vaccine resistance has an obvious answer. We need all of the above. What a freaking joke. Guys, it's social engineering 101. It's all about the messaging. These surveys are extremely powerful. Okay, we need to be good at understanding propaganda. Yeah, here we go, The View. The CDC criticism over vaccine rollout, I blame the messaging. It's not good because they're telling people you get the vaccine, you're still going to have to wear a mask and social distance, and nobody's going to want to do that. And then Whoopi's like, well, don't go there because if they get the vaccine, I still want them to wear the mask and social distance because everything's about driving fear here. It's such a joke. And they want to use all these celebrities to get you to believe something that isn't true. Okay? So, this is so dumb. Anyway, it's the government, not the virus, that is causing the stripping away of your freedoms. Okay, so don't let them tell you that. Now, I'm getting messages all the time on like my YouTube and sometimes here or on Instagram and YouTube on my videos just talking about living a healthy lifestyle, and you don't need the mask, you don't need the vaccine. Your body is innately intelligent and armed with the immune system to be able to battle this, and you'll actually benefit from infection with increased cancer surveillance and stronger immune system. That's how we build strength in our immunity, is exposure and infection. And so they say, oh, you just don't care. You're so selfish, blah, blah, blah. And, it's such a lie. You have to take it into your own self to live a healthy lifestyle. So the messaging is BS. They never actually look at the facts. And all they're going to tell you is it's safe. Safe, safe, safe and effective. Safe and effective. Efficacy hasn't been proven. Safety for sure hasn't been proven. You have to continue wearing the mask and social distance because we don't know if it reduces transmission or blocks infection. It's for nothing other than changing you genetically with this mRNA message. So then, here's where you really have to start looking beyond the messaging and start looking for real world experiences. They're going to tell you anecdote, oh, that's just an anecdote. That's just an anecdote. Well, how many anecdotes do you need to see before it starts becoming an issue? And look at this. This is just from a couple days ago. The number of injuries reported to the CDC after COVID vaccine climbed to nearly 4,000 in just 1 week. Okay, and by then, we had surpassed 1,000 deaths. So we're only a couple months into this vaccine. The number now is well over 1,100, probably closing in on 1,500, how fast we're pushing this on everybody. But we have deaths, permanent disabilities, emergency room visits, hospitalizations, birth defects, many miscarriages or spontaneous abortions from this vaccine, which is just tragic and sad. And one day, the World Health Organization comes out and says, we don't give it to pregnant mothers. Bad things are happening. And then they have to flip that and reverse it because then that sends the wrong message. It's all about the message. That's all that matters. Oh, just kidding. Pregnant women, go ahead and do it. We don't want anybody to think this isn't safe. So go look for information yourself. Okay, this comes from Children's Health Defense, the newsletter, The Defender. And they're staying on top of this really well. Another great resource is COVID-19 vaccine reactions on Instagram. Okay, just a few short weeks ago, they had like 1,200 followers. Now they have 127,000 followers, and they're constantly getting anecdotal experiences sent in, and they put them up, and you can go to their highlights. This is CV-19 vaccine reactions. Okay, in their highlights, you can look by shot. Here's examples of injury or death by Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, this one hasn't rolled out yet, but there's information about it in here. So you can learn about the injections, AstraZeneca, the Sinovac. There's several vaccines that have come out right now. Why are there so many? One, it's a huge market and everybody wants a piece of the pie. Two, the more options you have, then you feel like, well, I'll just find the safest one. None of them are safe. None of them are necessary. That's my opinion. But the reason they want a lot of options out there is then you feel like you have choice. And if you have choice, you can make a good choice, right? The best choice is none of these. I promise you that. Trust your immune system, but honor your body so that it's armed to fight. But I highly recommend going in here and you can look at all these different death stories and injury stories, hormone issues, so many issues with the reproductive system and infertility and women's menstrual cycles just getting destroyed and messed up, strokes, heart attacks, anaphylactic shocks. It goes on and on and on. So you look beyond the mainstream media's messaging and start looking for facts, people sharing real world experience, because that's what actually is happening. But you've been trained to discount that and say, that's just an anecdote. Show me the double-blind clinical study. That's funny that you'll ask for that about when fighting against somebody's anecdotal story, but the fact that they don't actually exist for any vaccine, they don't. Come on. Every single vaccine that's been approved, their safety control group is either another vaccine, so like the measles might have gone against the DTaP. AstraZeneca, for example, went against a meningococcal vaccine. Okay, so instead you're measuring vaccine injury against vaccine injury and calling that safe, instead of looking at vaccine versus an inert placebo. They'll never allow that to happen because the signals for danger would be far too strong and obvious. So they have to mute those signals by manipulating it and using a improper control group. Okay? So pay attention to the details. Learn how to see through the messaging and the social engineering that has been fine-tuned to a science. Okay? I have a social engineering video that I talk about. I actually cut out the first few minutes talking about Edward Bernays and how, he changed many industries, from the food industry, fluoride, tobacco. All of these were influenced by his surveys and his information of trust the experts, where they implemented all kinds of destructive things into the market based on social engineering. All right. And in his book, Propaganda, right, The Public Mind in the Making, he straight up tells you how it works. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in a democratic society. Those who manipulate these unseen mechanisms of society constitute an invisible government in which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes are formed, and our ideas are suggested, largely by men we have never heard of, in almost every act of our daily lives. Everything we do, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct, or in our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind, who harness old social forces and contrive new ways to bind and guide the world. This has gone on for a long, long time. It's extremely effective. It continues to this day. Okay? The technocrats have nailed this stuff down. Bertrand Russell, he says, I think the subject which will be of most importance politically is mass psychology. Its importance has been enormously increased by the growth of modern methods of propaganda, especially with the internet and especially with social media. But it starts in school, it starts in church, so it's called education. Religion plays a part. The cinema is huge. Okay, media is insanely important to plant these ideas, right? Look at TV. Pick any network. You're gonna find medical shows, right? Grey's Anatomy. I don't remember that doctor. They're all doctor shows. And it's always about saving lives and medicine this and medicine that and drugs this and vaccine that. And oh my gosh, we got to have the vaccine. And so contagion, movies about outbreaks and pandemics and all this crap to keep you guys afraid. And then when something like this actually happens, and 99.97% of people are fine, they're able to tell you we can't go back to life until everyone takes the vaccine and you all believe it. And then you shame anybody who says, I don't need it. Whatever. It's social engineering, and they've got you. So it may be hoped that in time, anybody will be able to persuade anyone of anything. If he can catch the patient young and is provided with a state, with money and all the resources to do it. The social psychologists of the future will have a number of classes of school children on whom they will try different methods of producing unshakable conviction that snow is black. They've done this. They've nailed it down. You guys believe that snow is black. You think that every virus is going to kill you, that every bacteria is going to kill you. You are virus and bacteria. You're killing yourself by trying to kill them. So they've already got you. It starts everywhere. We're brainwashing our kids in our own home because we've been brainwashed. The program exists here. And they know how to execute the program and implant upgrades along the way as here's this new thing, and they're upgrading their program and making it stronger every day. It's in the elementary school, it's in the churches, it's in the doctor's office. The higher up in education you go, the more the indoctrination and the stronger it is within their mind. It's hard to break through. I mean, if you want to watch the rest of this, you can find my social engineering video early in my uploads on Instagram, or you can find it on YouTube. It's one of the first videos I did, so I didn't have the screen sharing technology. It's just me in front of a television talking to you about this. But they're masters of manipulation, misdirection, illusion. You're literally living in the Matrix right now. You're being driven by a program that was downloaded onto you in your childhood. Okay? You run automatically on this program. And they're able to update this program every day with information and make it stronger. You're always getting downloads every day by the media. Okay? unless you learn and study propaganda and how to see through it, because this is all bull crap. And we've taught them. They ask us, how can we manipulate you? Oh, well, I'm really prone to guilt. Guilt would probably work, or embarrassment. I don't want to be embarrassed if somebody I love gets sick because of me. What a lie. Okay, I'm in charge of my health. They're in charge of theirs. That's not how this works. But they're going to guilt you into it. And they're going to make you believe it so deeply that you will shame anybody that doesn't believe what you believe. So anyway, the messaging. The messaging is key. Learn how to see through the message and actually go look for facts for yourself. All right, guys? Love you.